Well, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole, everyone. It is so wonderful to have you with us, and I'm very excited to be back with you on the show. And we are starting off here at the beautiful Old Daniel Lodge with some lovely giraffes that are hanging out. I believe they have been around quite a bit lately. Even when I was last on the show about a week ago, or a few days, I suppose, we had quite a few of them around as well, which is wonderful. Remember, everyone, that this is a live and interactive show, so you can chat to me if you so wish to share any thoughts or comments or questions that you might have, and you can send those through via the Wild Earth website or the app. You can also chat to us in the YouTube chat stream. Just remember to use the hashtag the @FC if you'd like those comments and questions to come directly to me, or you can join the conversation on X using the hashtag WildEarth. Penelope, welcome. It's wonderful to hear that you're back with us today and are enjoying the Waterhole show over your lunchtime. It's a wonderful way to relax and just enjoy a lot of the sights and sounds of the bush. There are two young boys at the back. They're doing some necking, which is basically the term we refer to for giraffe sparring or fighting. And of course, due to the fact that they bend their necks like that. Hopefully they might come a little bit closer to give us a better view. But it's very entertaining to watch. They sort of glue their rear ends together, sort of always trying to outmaneuver the other one. Joanne, hello to you. Sandy, hi to you as well. Thank you both for joining us today, and thanks for saying hi. It's always good to hear from you watching. And it's interesting, we don't think of giraffes as very aggressive animals. Well, I certainly don't in general. They're normally quite docile and sort of just walking through the bush and feeding and quietly doing their thing. But they can be aggressive. I mean, whether it's a mother protecting her baby or a male giraffe that's competing for dominance with another male. What a beautiful giraffe this is. Just standing here. looks like one ton has come for a drink. Well, it looks like the magnificent 1-ton elephant bull has brought some friends, and this is just iconic. What a privilege to have this particular spot as part of our locations that we get to use during the show, and to have this elephant around again is just amazing. We don't always see him. He comes and goes depending on where he's roaming, and this is definitely part of the area that he comes to, and he's been around recently, which is fantastic. Please come back, boy. We want to look at your amazing tusks. Now, I was very interested as to why this elephant was named 1 ton. And if anyone has corrections to this story, please do tell me. But apparently it's to do with the speed that he was taught to run at, or seemingly ran at. Another term for running about 100 kilometers per hour is called at 1 ton, the rate. Now, of course, elephants can't run at 100 kilometers per hour. It's a little bit less than that. But the speed at which I think he accelerated and was able to come so quickly was what he was named after. I was always wondering that, because initially you think it has to do with weight, but of course 1 ton is actually not a very big elephant at all. These bulls will weigh upwards of 6 tons. So I was fascinated to hear that's how he got his name. Deb Davis, you'd like to know how he's distinguishable, so it's all to do with those tusks. There might be other features in terms of his ears and tears and things like that, but he's the only elephant, I believe, in this area with tusks as big as this. One of the last, what we refer to as super tuskers, left in Africa, particularly in this region. And he's got that sort of right tusk that curves inwards a little bit more, and the left one that comes around to the bottom. So a very particular shape combination of his tusks that tell us who he is. Well, now there are 4 here. It's very intimidating, I must say. That giraffe in the background is brave, but possibly very used to these elephants already at the waterhole. Now this one on the right is cooling down, spraying itself with a bit of water. Hi Akefe, lovely to have you joining us from South Africa, and you're enjoying watching the giraffes necking and eating. I think now that these eddies move off, we might see some giraffes actually come back to the water. Oh, there comes Mr. One Ton himself. I know, Wild at Heart. Speaking of One Ton, I also thought it had to do with his tusks, but apparently not. Of course, those tusks wouldn't weigh anything close to 1 ton. Maybe 100 kilograms, perhaps somewhere around there. Having seen the weights of other tuskers within the Kruger at the Letaba Elephant Museum. It's a fantastic place if you ever find yourself in the Kruger to see more information about elephants and get up close and personal with their skeletal structure, their whole sort of how they develop in the womb, how the tusks, and of the Magnificent Seven, which was sort of the original tuskers of Kruger, which is very cool to see. And they actually have, I think it's replicas of the actual tusks in there, and which is amazing to actually get close and see the size of those tusks. They are ridiculously big. And then they also included the weight, so that ivory is sitting around that sort of weight mark. Sandy, yes, absolutely. The indentations there do mean that he is older, and that would make sense given the size and thickness of those tusks, that he is somewhere possibly it's very difficult to say, but he's a senior elephant. I would say 45-50 years, if not more than that. I don't know if that has particularly been recorded or estimated exactly, but I believe he was first seen in the mid-1990s. So he's been monitored for quite an extended period of time now, actually. I thought this may happen as those elephants move off so the giraffes arrive. I'm not sure why they moved off so quickly there. Interesting. That was because Mr. One Ton was not finished with his drink. Really. But that's a very interesting question. I don't know if they would recognize their own face. Only because there's not many opportunities for them to actually see their reflection. You know, we have things like mirrors in our world that allow us to know what we look like, photographs, that sort of thing. Whereas an elephant perhaps they can see the reflection in the water. I don't know if they particularly take note of it. But unlike something like a southern crown hornbill or an Egyptian goose that gets very angry with its reflection, it hasn't quite got that mental capacity to figure out that it's not itself. That it is itself, sorry, and it's not a competitor that they need to, destroy. So, but you don't see an elephant attacking the water. So maybe they do see the reflection, but they know it's themselves. I don't think they particularly take note of what they themselves look like at all. I don't know if they would use their brain power to do that. Maybe subconsciously. Well, what a wonderful start to the show. Let's now head over to Tao. Such a pretty scene here. It just keeps getting thicker and thicker, I think, as the rains have been arriving in this area. The whole sort of northern region, I think, northwest side of South Africa has just been, there's been a lot of rain. I'm not exactly sure how much Tao has seen, but I do know that area, some areas more than others, but it's just, there's been a lot of rain, and you can see that by the vegetation and how green it is. And there's a beautiful waterbuck bull sitting down here resting. Oh, that's lovely. He stood up. We have quite a few waterbuck that hang around here at Tao. Often actually multiple males of all different ages. And they all seem to get on quite peacefully. Mindy, I know it's so difficult to imagine it any other way. I think I was saying yesterday, you can't actually imagine, I mean, even Juma and many reserves that go through these cycles of wet and dry season. I mean, Tao is particularly extreme in what we see, but even so, it's very difficult to imagine it completely desolate. But it happens, and it will happen again. It's something, the cycle and the way nature works. It's a time of dry periods is important to balance out the ecosystem. Even though it's tough to see sometimes, I must say. But yes, for those viewers who potentially are newer to the show, who have joined during the summertime, stick with us until we get to about August, September, and beyond that, of course. But you're going to notice day after day, once the rain subsides, how this place just transforms once again back into the sort of very dry, very grey, dusty, almost barren land. And it's amazing, because these animals still find a way to survive and live in these harsh conditions. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Is that a feather? I wonder if it's going to a nest to line it. Look, it's definitely a starling. I think maybe greater blue-eared. Looked like it was carrying a very fluffy white feather. Oh, and there's a beautiful weaver that's landed on the top. That's definitely a feather. And that's something that starling will then take and actually go line its nest with, which is what I think why we're seeing it with a feather. Oh, birds are amazing. Oh, Penelope, thanks for that info. You say that Madikwe, this very reserve, flooded last week. The Marico River overflowed its banks. I can believe it. I mean, I saw a video that Taylor McCurdy, one of our fellow naturalists here at Wild Earth, she is currently doing some filming for us at Welgevonden in the Waterberg region, which is a little bit further north and west from this spot where we are looking at the moment, and that's sort of quite mountainous, and it's flooding there as well. I mean, the rivers everywhere, sort of landlocked with regards to, the roads are now just completely undrivable in certain areas. So she's having a whale of a time there, if you catch my drift. Swimming along as they go. Definitely makes for some special memories, I'll say that. Yes, Mindy, that is correct. So the nests that birds build is particularly done for their breeding season, depending on the species. But yes, they don't sort of have a nest or a little home that they use all year round. And most of them, not all of them, some will rest on the ground at night, but a lot of them, even some ground-dwelling birds, storks, francolins, burfowls, a lot of them that we often see on the ground will actually roost in trees. Well, always good to pop in at a Tau. Who knows, we may be back. Let's head over now to Wangi Lodge. Oh, awesome! Grey-crowned cranes. This is a new spot for me, personally. I don't think we've been here before while I've been hosting the show. And this is awesome. They are so beautiful. I see these birds in the Eastern Cape of South Africa sometimes. And it's wonderful to see them up here in Zimbabwe as well. What a stunning bird. And what's interesting is that the grey-crowned crane is endangered, and it's mainly that endangerment is actually due to the loss of their breeding habitat, due to poisoning, as well as collisions with power lines, interestingly enough. And their breeding habitat is marshes and pans, dam margins, wetland edges. There's actually a group that I've seen in the Transkei in an area called Wave Crest, and they're known to come down onto the beach in the evening times, which is amazing. Oh, there's a marabou stork there as well, which is a beautiful thing to see. And they can also congregate. Oh, there we go, they are congregating. I think up to about 70 birds, if not more, altogether. And this is another bird that will roost communally in trees at night, as well as in open, shallow waters at dams and estuaries. If pairs are breeding, they will roost on the ground in the wetlands, at the nest, or with the young. So it's fascinating, to be able to see these beautiful birds. And that sort of little I that you can hear in the background, that's the sound of the crane that you can hear. And it is actually their breeding season now. Sort of this late summer, autumn time. In this region, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, the breeding peak is around December to February. Oh, Wild at Heart, that is so cool to know. I mean, that's incredible that you used to work at this particular lodge. And you must know far more than I could. But it's very cool to be able to share this new spot with you all. And what a beautiful bird. I mean, now that we can see them from top to bottom, the coloration, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily myself wear grey and brown together, but it's working for this particular bird. I mean, the red on the throat, it's got this hairdo going. Very eccentric, I would say, would be the look, but they look stunning, even with all their seemingly unmatching colors, but it works for this particular bird. Earth Lover, hello, lovely to hear from you. You say, oh my word, these are stunning. They definitely are. They are so striking. Yes, Cecile, that is so true. And it was something that struck me when I first saw the cranes and the stalks together, is that these cranes are very elegant and beautiful. I think it was, yes, Penelope, you were saying Art Deco colors. And then you've got sort of the marabou stalk, which, you know, is not the prettiest bird in the bush. In fact, I believe it's part of the ugly five that have been put together, which I think is a little bit harsh, but I mean, they don't exactly please the eye, but they are important, and they do perform a role. But in terms of prettiness and coloration, I don't think they make the top 5 or top 10 list, that's for sure. Rebecca, yes, you say they're supermodel-esque. They're very sleek, aren't they? These cranes, they're the ones who definitely hair models, I would say. There's a crane, it's actually the national bird of South Africa, a crowned crane. The blue crane. And that is a supermodel crane. It is so sleek from the top of its head to the tip of its tail. It's got this very almost baby powder blue color. Very beautiful, tall, slender bird. Oh, lovely. It sounds like One Ton has made his way back to the waterhole. Let's head over to Old Daniel. Also seems to be brightening up here. Far more sunshine than earlier, I think. And I think I recognize the second elephant that is standing in front of one ton at the moment with the floppy ear. One of our regular visitors here. Oh, sorry about that, everyone. We just lost the feed there. We'll see if we can get it back. But we're back here at Wangi, and it is beautiful. I'm loving this new location and this impala as well. That is just here in these clearings with these beautiful cranes. And what those cranes are doing is basically looking for some little invertebrates and things like that to eat. They also eat a lot of grass seeds. And due to the habitat that they need, we don't see them in the Lowveld, being more associated with very marshy lands, estuaries and that sort of thing. And apparently these cranes have quite the courtship display that they do. Maybe we'll be lucky to see it happening here. That would be nice. But they basically form monogamous pairs when breeding. And they're quite territorial over their little areas, but they can form breeding flocks. So I think I can imagine it being much like Egyptian geese in that way. You can find lots and lots of them together, but they all sort of in pairs within a certain place. Yes, Chris, that's right. I was thinking it's the national bird of somewhere. I was trying to remember what it is, but you're right, it is Uganda. And what a bird to have as their national bird. I mean, I love our blue crane. I think it is so special. But I mean, this grey crown crane is also gorgeous. All right, let's head back up to Old Daniel. what a sight to have a wonton here, as well as a giraffe. But a gorgeous boy, and really, just to sit and watch him is so cool, and he's so commanding of the camera, really, and our attention. Sandy, yes, I do believe it's possible. All of these places and these waterhole cameras, for the most part, there may be one or two exceptions, but I believe they're placed in front of lodges that you can stay at. I mean, I know Oldonyo is a lodge, there where we had the Great Crown Cranes is a safari lodge. Okokuyo is a lodge that you can stay at. In Koro, there are just, I think, all of them really, for the most part. Perhaps the one at Betty's Bay at Stony Point, you can't necessarily stay exactly where the camera is, but you can stay in the area and go and walk to the beach and view that particular spot. Lillian, you are absolutely right. I think he commands, not even demands, but it commands a respect. And he doesn't need to even try. It doesn't look like any giraffes are brave enough to come and drink when this boy is here at the waterhole. And rightly so, I think, with his amount of life experience. that left tusk must surely be over a meter in length. Maybe even a meter and a half. It's so long. I mean, it's basically the length of his entire trunk. Oh, Cheryl, that's a fantastic question. I don't know if they are more brittle now or not. I don't think so. I think, of course, as they are longer and bigger and, take up more space and become more and more prominent on an elephant, they do run a much higher risk of being damaged or broken. I don't think that they get weaker. I could be wrong. But I seem to think that as an elephant gets older, and from what I understand how tusk growth works, they particularly get longer and bigger and thicker towards the senior years of an elephant's life, because that sort of calcium production that was going to grow in the bones doesn't need to go there anymore because it's reached its full skeletal size. And so those tusks then sort of can grow extraordinarily long, as they reach the sort of last 20 years or so of their life. But genetics also has a massive role to play in that. But perhaps as they do get older and bigger like that, they are more prone to be broken, and that is why we don't see so many with such long tusks. Maybe part of the reason. The main reason, of course, being that the genes of the tuskers were massively taken out of the natural world by poaching for ivory in the ivory trade, which is very sad but true. And so the genes that were being passed on so that more bulls would have tusks like this, and potentially even some cows as well. There's just far fewer of those genetics circulating in the wild now. Ooh, that sounds very nice. Let's head over to Tembe with some zebras in the rain. Well, I think there's quite a bit of rainy weather here in northern KwaZulu-Natal, and I believe it comes and goes, getting harder and then softer. But these zebras look to be loving life, enjoying the coolness. Don't need to go for a drink, they can just eat the grass and there's enough water on it, I'm sure. Wow, well, there comes another downpour. It's amazing how now that it's raining so hard, well, okay, the one zebra did put down its head again, but it seemed that all of them stopped feeding and just sort of looked up and were like, okay, we'll wait until it gets lighter or eases off a bit. Maybe they struggle to see. I know I certainly struggle to see in heavy rain. Jared's directing the show and he asks, why are their tails still swooshing? Great question, Jared. I can't answer that. I feel like that tail is like on automatic. It just goes constantly. Maybe it turns into a bit of a windscreen wiper for the rear end. But who knows, maybe even in such heavy rain, I'm sure it's quite humid. I don't think it's very cold. If I remember the time that I spent in KwaZulu-Natal doing my guide training, I was there sort of from January all the way to March, mid-March, and wow, well, so this very time, and you just sort of get this relentless rain that comes down in bucket loads, but it's still hot. So maybe, I don't know if a fly would still be around, but clearly they're doing it maybe just in case as well. I mean, even the zebra with no tail end is just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I wonder if it feels to a zebra, that tail swishing, like when you tap your foot. I don't know, some people, sometimes I even do it, you know, even subconsciously without even thinking about it, you all of a sudden sort of tapping your foot or something like that. One day when we can talk to zebras, we'll ask them. Gavin, yes, absolutely. It does clean off the animals. I mean, it must, right? I mean, the zebra there, sort of on the left, has a little bit of a brown hind quarters, but I do think sometimes there is a little bit of brown coloration, maybe stains that get into the hair from the soil. But it's definitely keeping the whites very white, especially around the face and neck and front half of the body. And I mean, for these animals that don't really mud wallow or go for swims, it must be lovely to have such clean rain falling down on their hides. And it's nice to spend some time with zebras. It's we do see sometimes them quite a bit. This in particular is the Burchell's or plain zebra that are hanging out here. And I think the contrast of their colors with this very green background is also so striking. Stephanie, that's very much a possibility. I think it is odd for them to be swishing their tails and flicking their ears even in the rain, especially because you don't really think of flies, which is most likely the thing that they're swatting for in general, to be around in the rain. But maybe they find themselves sitting on an animal like a zebra when it is raining. I mean, they have to sit somewhere. But it could also be the raindrops that might be bothering them, maybe. I'm doubtful of that, though. I just think zebras swish their tails so much. And I think even in the rain in this particular area, there might be flies or other parasites that might try and find shelter on them, especially around the anal area that's quite soft, and even under the tail as it is sheltered. Well, I just wanted to take a moment there to listen to the rain. It's so beautiful to have that sound coming through for us on the show. Ooh, Dark Mane Lover, which animals in the bush really enjoy the rain? Well, at this point, I would say zebra. I think elephants enjoy the rain. I'm just thinking, I think we often see a lot of, saying which animals have I really seen just loving the rain? I don't think there's any that hate the rain. I think that it's part of their life out here in the wild for sure. And it's something that is very much part of their existence. And if they had any negative feelings towards it, there's not much that they could do about it, to be honest. Marinda. So that's a fascinating thing, and I actually learned a little bit more about this from watching swallows, particularly with the wind. But I think it also applies for birds when wind and rain is together. And if we think of a bird, they are the way their engineering works, especially with their feathers, is that it's for flying basically, and as they fly, they're flying into the wind. So they create their own sort of little jet stream, and as they're flying, the air moves against their bodies, and so everything is sort of aligned for them flying forwards, is what I'm trying to say. And so when you see a whole bunch of swallows perched or birds perched, next time that it's quite windy outside, just take note of which way they're facing, and they are always facing into the wind. Sometimes they'll turn their head around, and I've seen eagles do that, but for the most part, they actually, especially the little swallows, they love to sit and face into this terrible wind. And I remember chatting to my mom about it, and she was like, I wonder why these birds are facing into the wind. If it was me, I would try and shelter myself and not have my face in the wind. But that's part of protecting their bodies, and so that they, the way the wind flows over their feathers protects them. If they were facing the other way, then all that cold air and the moisture and the rain would get in between into their downy feathers that keep them nice and warm. So if they can face into the wind, then that wind together with rain will actually go over them a lot easier and not soak in as much. So those birds you can hear there, Hannah, are the white-faced whistling ducks that are calling. And now the sun is shining. What a change in this fantastic scene. Thanks for sending that comment through, Erica. It is beautiful. Let's head over to some antelope now in Victoria Falls. looks like there are some impala and kudus that are hanging out here at the waterhole in Zimbabwe. Curious younger one there, as well as the young male that's, I think, sticking close to mom. Look at the size of those ears. That is so fascinating. Gavin, yes, impala would be considered a medium-sized antelope. Kudu would then be a large antelope. Your small antelope are things like steenbok and duiker. Wow, actually so many more than what I initially thought as well as they're moving through here. I find kudus are often underrated, especially the females and youngsters that don't have, those really impressive horns. But they are beautiful and lovely to watch feeding. And of course, I mean, the male kudu with those spiral horns are some of the most impressive in all of Africa, I think. So, Sandy, when it comes to springbuck, you're likely to see them more in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, more the western part of the Eastern Cape into the Northern Cape of South Africa, the Kalahari, into Etosha, Namibia, quite widespread around there as well. Part of, I think it was in Botswana that we saw them too, just depending on where that overlap of habitat is. In terms of duikers, we see plenty of duikers at Djuma. In the low velds, they're very widespread, the common duiker. We don't get to put them on camera very often because they are very skittish and quickly move away. Apologies, we've come over to Djuma. We lost the feed there, but that's okay. We had a sudden downpour of rain here at Djuma, I must say. It all of a sudden just fell from the sky, but now the sun is shining again, and I think it's going to be like that all afternoon into the evening, sort of these scattered showers of rain that are going to come through. Well, apparently my sound wasn't so clear there. Hopefully this is a little bit better. You can see what looks to be two Egyptian geese Oh, one Egyptian goose perched on the dead tree. Lovely, let's head over to Towel with an Elephant. He is on his way. Or he's found some mud that he wants to sit down into or spray himself with. That is a huge elephant. Well, it looks very big from here. I can't believe that it looks like this waterhole is going to overflow. I mean, wow. There's even water on the other side of the dam wall. That is unbelievable. Oh, that's very white. It must be mixed with some very light colored soil. This waterhole is unbelievably full. Wow. I mean, usually we see this sort of sections, you know, and this is sort of far on the left hand side. And you've got sort of these big pieces of land in between the sections. But now it's just almost level entirely, which is really impressive. He's just come for a bit of a cool down, splash behind the ears. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today here. It was a wonderful show with a lot of variety. We really enjoyed having you on board. Thank you for all of your comments and questions. Live at the Waterhole will, of course, be back tomorrow, and we will be on Sunset Safari for all our members and explorers. Keep well, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.